Coming up on Texas Voices, the Powell brothers show us how it's done.
One of the big things for us is just we knew this is what we want to do the rest of our lives.
How Hurricane Harvey led them to the barn life, where they're making new music and breaking barriers. Plus, a partnership that goes down smoothly, whiskey and music.
The goal was always to come in and do your best by the whiskey.
We hear about humble beginnings and what makes Balcones Distilling stand out worldwide. And he mixes drinks and conversation at a Texas speakeasy, rich in history and spirits.
That's the most fun way, I think, to connect with people.
Drink to make memories,
Absolutely.
not to forget them.
Exactly.
Our
Texas Voices creative Travvis Scott shows us how to make an old-fashioned, with Balcones, of course. Texas Voices features the musicians, artists, and creatives in our great state next.
Stoke the fire and keep on digging. Make the most of what you're giving. It may seem cold and it may seem tough. Even steel will bend when you heat it up. You're on the road to better days. If you can outlast the sun and outlast the rain, ain't a lot of hard lessons made. Let me tell you, son, soon you're gonna show us how it's done.
Howdy, and welcome to the iconic Dixie Chicken located in the historic Northgate District of College Station, Texas. I'm Lindsay Littman. If we had a bottle cap for every time we're asked who sings our theme song, we could fill Bottle Cap Alley. The Powell brothers hail from Houston. Taylor and Blake hit the historic stage of Green Hall. But first, they sat down with us at the Chicken to talk about new music and the bond of brotherhood.
Gonna be tough.
The Powell brothers' sound is a cocktail of influences.
The biggest part of it is really just, Mike, our drummer, and then Blake Sessions, who's out running sound with us a lot. Our sound now is me and Taylor put in a room with those two guys. And it's really kind of cool that, we do have conversations about, stylistically or what sounds do we want to go for, but most of the time it's really just us four just in a room doing this is what feels right to us.
Taylor and Blake paved their own path.
The borders between genres are kind of gone.
Yeah.
And so it's all intermixing, and it's interesting to see how people are taking the different genres and vibes and finding their own voice within that.
And we're really glad whoever did it, because we're being musically ADD, we didn't really particularly want to have to pick one kind of thing to do.
Yeah, I think good music is just good music. It doesn't, we don't need it to fit into a certain genre. Maybe the powers that be want to be able to label it as this so people can find it under that label. But otherwise, it's great music, it when you hear it.
We cover everything from Merle Haggard to Willie Nelson to Prince to
We did a Genuine song last week.
Yeah, we did a Genuine song last week.
Yeah.
We go on, but what I love is doing Merle Haggard back to back with a Prince or a Genuine, putting things that don't necessarily belong together, but finding a way.
Yeah.
And then to do that at a place like Green Hall is amazing.
Going down till the sun comes up.
It's always fun to, can we get people dancing to, Friends in Low Places and then stay on the dance floor to, an R&B song.
It's their independent spirit that set out with a dream, drums, and a pair of guitars. They never looked back.
Whenever the Powell brothers started, we were in a 15-year-old Acura hatchback SUV.
Nice.
And I remember we had the whole thing stuffed to the back, the entire middle of that back row, and then two guys were sandwiched in those back seats, then me and Taylor.
Yeah, I remember we played Houston, Padre, and then Austin, and so that drive the whole time looking in the rearview mirror and seeing our guys just this is
pretty incredible.
Don't worry.
And it has, even as Hurricane Harvey changed their lives forever.
We just left for another weekend show. We knew there was going to be some a bit of a storm, and like it's rained over there before, and so like, we've had like a little bit, an inch or two of water. So like, we move the studio, kind of like our high-end guitars, whenever we go put them up in our rooms. And so like, the next day, I still have that video of like Dad kayaking up to the house to check and see if he can see anything, or if we didn't know if the water had gotten up to the second floor or not. So we knew it was right on the line, but we didn't know. But long story short, we kind of hung out for a year trying to see if we could save the house or what the deal was, and then eventually had to call it. And after about a year, we ended up out in the middle of nowhere, in between two very fine maximum security prisons in the National Forest, and it's just wonderful. We live in a barn. It's beautiful.
I wonder if they could ever hear your music out there.
Yeah, actually, somebody just messaged us on Facebook the other night saying they were coming to see us at Green because they live next door and they've heard us playing but haven't met us.
That's amazing.
And I was like, you could just come over.
You just come and knock on the door.
Yeah.
It's okay.
The barn has become a place of creativity to write songs inspired by the road.
You guys let us use your song, How It's Done, for our theme song.
Yeah.
And I loved it. The first minute I heard it, I just loved it. I loved listening to the story within the song. So how did that song come about, and what is it all about to you?
Okay, so we were playing a show north of San Antonio, and we played a great set, had a great time. At the end of the night, though, we're hanging out, having a good time, and this old man comes up, and he loved us. He loved the set, and he'd also had a really big evening and a big time, and had a lot to drink.
Yeah.
And he grabs me by the shoulder and goes, "You guys are doing it. You're killing it. You're great. You just got to keep on digging. You gotta reach in here and pull it out. And when your hands are bloody and dirty, you gotta keep on digging."
Yeah.
Great message.
Yeah.
Very kind, and I agree with him.
Yeah.
He kind of put the message on loop for about 20 minutes,
And
and kept rolling with it.
Yeah.
And again, he had me by the shoulder, and it was such like a thoughtful thing, and I received it, and he dug it in. And so I will never forget it.
Pour me some Powell Brothers and Balcones whiskey. How they make the perfect pair, coming up.
Follow your heart to Waco, Texas, home of the famous Magnolia Silos, Cameron Park Zoo, Baylor University, Dr. Pepper Museum, BSR Cable Park, and so much more. Enjoy the arts, historical sites, outdoor nature, entertainment, music, food, drinks, and events in a diverse, welcoming place you'll find yourself coming back to again and again.
Balcones Distilling is a huge supporter of Texas music, especially the Powell Brothers. In an old welding shop under a bridge in Waco is where Balcones Distilling was born, so let's toast to their hard work and determination.
Jared Hempstead, the head distiller here at Balcones. It kind of started with beer. I thought we were going to open a brewery, and thank goodness we didn't. I don't think, looking back, if we had done that when we were thinking about doing that in Waco, it probably wouldn't have made it. It would do well today. And I wasn't really into whiskey. I had a friend that had spent some time in Oxford, and we were out one time, and he said, "Yeah, you've got to try this specific distillery." And like the light bulb went off, and from that day forward, I just couldn't get enough. And kind of part of the culture here is everyone's just a little bit DIY. Everyone just kind of likes making things, likes doing things, and we never even thought about it being weird that if you like whiskey that you why wouldn't you try your hand at it? So it really felt like at every moment we just kept looking up, and it was getting further and further down the road, and all of a sudden we had a building, and next thing we know we had our permits, and then everyone's trying to figure out, well, I guess maybe we should quit our regular jobs, and next thing, I mean, it's almost like, just one foot in front of the other, and one day you wake up and realize that you got pretty far down that road.
Yeah. And I love the story of how you guys started out under the bridge. Which bridge?
17th Street.
Oh,
Bridge.
okay.
The old, it was a t-shirt shop before, but it used to be the Dupuis Oxygen building right there on the corner of 17th and Franklin.
Tell me about Waco for you. I mean, this city has really changed, but what's wonderful to me about Waco is it's not oversaturated with people doing their own thing, and you can hit a sweet spot where people will support what you're doing.
Anyone who's been here long enough, for a long time it seemed like really cool things would show up and then they would go away. And people weren't supporting it, people weren't going out. And now all of a sudden it's working. I keep waiting for it to bust because you hear about a new place and you're like, that's really cool. I hope we're going to take care of them and make sure like it actually, that business works. And things just keep popping up and they keep working. So it's a nice time. I think, especially me in my early 20s, I was working at Mission Waco actually right after college. But a lot of us was like, a venue would open and close, and a restaurant would open and close, and a bar would open and close. And to finally be the time where you really get turned on to some place and you really like going there and enjoying it, now it feels like, no, it's going to be there for you finally. So that's good. I really don't see a line between what specific discipline you're interested in. Waco's having a really fun, creative moment that hopefully lasts for a long time. And we've had concerts outside, we've had concerts in here. Music's really dear to us. I don't care if someone doesn't like whiskey. That's not really the point. Paying attention, filling yourself, surrounding yourself with beautiful things. There's just it's a community enriching thing and it's a life enriching thing. And especially right now, this last year, live venues is tough. And even if they're open, the capacity's down. So finding ways to support local musicians, local artists of any kind is probably more important than ever right now.
Tell me about the actual building that we're in.
So we're in the Texas Fireproof Storage Building. It was built in '23. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the maps of the tornado trajectory as it tore through town, but it went right over us. But this thing is like 2-foot thick concrete walls.
Yeah.
So in the line of the tornado, it's one of the few buildings. There's almost a straight line from here to the Alico, and everything in between was kind of trashed.
Yeah, and just kind of ruined. Dr. Pepper just hit them pretty hard.
Yep. But it's kind of predates self-storage, so you would have brought stuff here. The upstairs floors where we have barrels, there's kind of little blocks with numbers, so your stuff would be stored somewhere. There used to be a fur vault, a cedar-lined fur vault for people's coats, and the bar, the back bar actually is the vault where I can only assume jewelry and things like that would have been.
Neat.
It was actually, when we came in, there was actually some trunks that had postcards from World War I and like somebody's Silver Spoon Connect collection and things like that. It was pretty cool to find.
What'd you do with that stuff?
We've still got it. We kept most of it.
You're hoping to find like $1 million or something.
Oh yeah. Nothing quite
that
like
would have helped the business.
Yeah.
When you took on this building though, were you like, it's the right building, or like what drew you to this particular place?
Well, our old space was so small. This room is about the size of our original building. So producing there was fine, but we didn't have any place to put the barrels. So we got it. We wouldn't get it anywhere for what we got it then today, but it was a pretty affordable for the square footage. And it stays relatively, it's not climate controlled, but it takes a while because it's so thick. There's so much mass. When it heats up, it kind of takes a little bit for it to get hot in here. And same when it's cold. So it was a perfect place for barrels to go. And then eventually when we outgrew production even down there, I was like, well, we've got to have a bigger place. It's had its challenges, but it's really fun. There's so much history here. I actually had a lady come through who, she was in her 80s and her dad used to work here. And so in the summers, she would kind of help just doing filing and stuff. And so she brought pictures from 65, 70 years ago that she had from like some of her summers here as like a high school student. I thought it was pretty cool.
It feels like it really when you're making the whiskey. There's just really good vibes in here. Maybe you're distilling more than just that spirit. You're trying to capture a lifestyle, maybe.
Yeah, and the place, obviously, being in Waco matters. Being in Central Texas matters. But yeah, I think kind of the environment you're making in can really affect kind of how you feel about things and how you think about what you're doing, for sure. Yeah, we've always loved what we do, and that's kind of what drives it. So we keep working on stuff until we're happy with it, and so far it's worked out pretty good for us.
Walk me through the process of distilling, and also how did you learn? Were you self-taught, or did you have a mentor?
We were all self-taught, yeah. We don't have anybody who's ever worked in distilling before. Still to this day, but nobody who's ever worked here has worked in the business before. There's a million complications, but the most simple is that a whiskey's made with grain, so it has to be grain, and all these starches that are in grain need to be changed with cooking and with enzymes to become fermentable. So longer chain sugars, carbohydrates aren't fermentable. So either cooking, enzymes, or both, you make them fermentable, you've got a liquid or a slurry that has all the sugar in it. You put yeast in, they do the job of turning that into CO2 and alcohol. And then what you're doing in the still is just separating things by their boiling point or their evaporation point. So the lighter things come off first. The alcohol is a lot lighter than water. So you're getting it hot, the water and all your solids stay in, alcohol's coming off, and you're collecting that until you've got almost all of it out. That's the simplified version. There's a few other nuances.
And yet it still sounds very complex.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of patience? Are you a very patient person?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem waiting. I think anybody who gets into distilling, you better be pretty okay with waiting because things take years.
So when you first set out to do this, as a group, did you feel like the dream was too big? I mean, it's easy to look at what you all have built and be like, wow, you know, but in the hard times, what kind of pushed you guys through?
I don't think we ever we didn't have a big lofty goal. The goal was always to come in and do your best and do your best by the whiskey. And luckily, even though things are a lot bigger, it's still really nice to feel like day to day, that's still the drive for everyone. People come in, they're very disciplined, they're very thorough, and they're diligent, they do their job, and that's what drives them. So in some ways things haven't changed, just the scale's a little bit different.
People are choosing the Brazos Valley to launch, grow, and locate their companies every single day. But in the Brazos Valley, our most valuable asset is talent. And their skills, their drive, their character speaks loudest.
There's a speakeasy just a few blocks from Balcones that'll serve you whiskey or whatever you bring because it's members only. And the man behind the bar can talk boots or bow ties. Let's see what tonight's Creative Travvis Scott is pouring.
Below Cultivate 712 Art Gallery is a speakeasy where Travvis Scott spins stories and stirs spirits.
When I got into bartending, I realized this is the job that I want, is that I want to be doing this and just trading stories.
Travvis, with 2 V's, is a born storyteller. He's developing a podcast called American Cocktail.
For so long in, at least in the US, we have been told this narrative of America being a melting pot. The idea of sort of homogenizing all the elements together. But I rather like to think of America more like a cocktail. So you've got a combination of very different ingredients that all put together make up something that is better than the sum of its parts. So the drink that we're going to be making today, like I said, just a simple old-fashioned.
At the Undercroft, members bring their own Balcones or whatever they fancy, and Travvis will mix them a drink.
What you're trying to capture is whiskey on the rocks with just a little bit of extra flair.
If he seems like a Renaissance man, he is. Travvis is also a tailor and designer.
I graduated as a mechanical engineer, and my best asset as an engineer is pattern recognition. So I learned very quickly that when I wear bow ties, I get more attention from women. So my goal was to acquire more bow ties, and at the time, the most efficient way to do that was by making them myself. Give it a little bit of a stir.
At the core is connection.
They leave with a story to tell afterwards.
Drink to make memories,
Absolutely.
not to forget them.
Exactly. There you have it, an old-fashioned, the oldest cocktail in the book.
Up next, the legend of the ring dunk tradition, right here at the Dixie Chicken.
Howdy guys. You know, there's always tall tales and legends and stories that come out of old honky tonks and beer joints like the Dixie Chicken. One of the most famous ones perhaps is about a pitcher of beer in an Aggie ring. So Aggie ring dunks, if you've not heard of an Aggie ring dunk, what it is somebody takes their Aggie ring, puts it in a pitcher of beer and drinks it. Well, the story is it got started right here at the Dixie Chicken. Back in the late 70s, there was an Ag who got his brand new ring, and one of his buddies was sitting there saying, hey, that looks great, I don't have mine yet. Can I take a look at yours? So the Aggie takes it off and goes to handle it over, and there's a little fumble right over the top of the pitcher of beer, and, well, it just falls right in. Well, with the Aggie ring in there, how are you going to get it out? You can't really stick your hand down in there. That's going to be a waste of good beer. So, being the good Ags they are, they decided they just had to drink it all down. From there, ring dunk kind of took on a life of its own. Now there are ring dunk parties every spring and every fall, and it all got started right here at the Dixie Chicken. Well, that's the legend, at least.
Thanks, Adam. Be sure to follow us on social media and at TexasVoicesShow.com. Before we go, let's hear one more song from the Powell brothers. We'll see you next week.
Haven't changed the way the trees always
nicest voices. Powell Brothers, take 10,075. Now we're good.
Somebody
From viewers.
said they hope I fall off a Ferris wheel not too long ago.
We
Well, it's
did
like, first of all,
not
you don't know
advise.
me.
You took the
Why am I
ball.
on a Ferris wheel?